we're going to take a simple IKEA shelf and convert it into something a little bit more exciting. And more in particular, we're going to convert this one to Abu Dhabi, the Yas Marina Circuit. So we'll start off with a Billy shelf from IKEA and get going. Now if you get a plain white shelf from IKEA, it costs a little bit less and there's less work to do, whereas the brown ones or any other color requires some sanding. So choose the color you want for your road. In my case here we use Rust-Oleum Primer Gray. And in this tutorial I won't be going over too much of the painting because some painters might know the process, so I'm just going to show the colors we use to get there. We're going to do another tutorial based just off of masking and getting lines. So next we're going to cut the fence out, and we're going to use foam board as it's cheap and we're trying to keep the cost on this project to a minimal. So you'll see I use a sharp knife just to cut out the foam board. Now I chose sponsors and I printed a few different sizes so I could choose which size I wanted. You could use scissors to cut out your sponsors, but a knife will give you ultimately the best cut possible. Just be careful, and I have mine on a glass surface with a straight edge. Be sure to also clean out the top and bottom of your foam. It also gives some depth and make it look like an actual fence on both sides. So yeah, just be sure to clean out all the little balls and leftover whatnots. Now you can start lining out your sponsors on the wall and try to keep them so they're pleasing to the eye. And then once you have them laid out how you want, get some glue ready. Get another piece of paper, something to spread the glue evenly on the back of the sponsor, and start applying them. Next I got some woodcraft dowels, and as I mentioned I wanted to keep the cost to minimal, and these are only about $2 for the whole pack. I then glued them out evenly Well, I glued the first one. I'm the type of person to glue something and then measure. As you'll see, that's what I did here. And I just measured to get it the most even. And then I glued an extra piece on the end. So as you can see, this particular color veil is way too light, so I opted to go for black just because you could see it a little easier. And this is a thinner, smaller diameter black than I used in the Monza diorama. The Monza diorama I used a bit one size larger, or I guess larger size die-cast cards and models. And you only need to cut out a few centimeters or inches over what you need here. Once you have your netting pretty much cut out, don't be afraid to use clamps to initially get your net set up. And once you have your netting aligned, try to tuck in the bottom of the netting in between the fence poles, I guess we'll call them, and the barrier. As you see now, I'm using a knife to tuck in the fencing. And then once I have all the netting tucked in, I then use a piece of tape to help me hold the netting where it needs to be, and then I slowly dab glue where needed, and I let the glue dry, come back and move a clamp, and then re-dab more glue, and I repeat this process over and over until the whole net is glued. Now you can obviously use kind of acrylite or CA or super glue for this project, but I want to keep it a white glue and minimal item project, so that's why I tried to use the least amount of items and things possible to get this thing done. Now coming up next, we're going to be talking about the background or the backdrop, and to me that's pretty important. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it just completes the scene. So after some searching, well, a lot of searching, this is what I found. This is the background I wanted. Let's take another look without so many distractions. So that background there is what I'm going to go for. I printed out a couple different sizes because I wanted to try to make this silo or oil container 3D, and I'm going to have that popping off the background. So let's watch how I cut everything out and did that. To gluing to the second part of your backdrop, try to line up key items like the tree, the building, the door, and then also add glue to areas that need it, that didn't get enough glue under the second part of the backdrop. Next, you'll see I trace out the silo, and I trace it onto a foam board, and then I cut out the foam board, and then I glue the couple extra scrap pieces to the back of the foam board, and that way I can glue that silo directly to the backdrop, and it adds a little 3D elevated effect with some shadows behind it. And that's the effect I was after there. It's pretty cheap and simple to do. So here you can see I'm taking another couple pieces of foam board and gluing them at the very bottom of the backdrop. And these are going to hold up the fence and also give a better base for the backdrop to glue to the shelf to. So once these are dry, I'll simply glue the fence to it, and then once those are all drying, I'll glue them all to the backdrop, or I mean the shelf, and then I'll use other things to help prop them up and kind of balance everything and let it set for a day. Again, I use just white glue to glue everything here. I'm sure there's many other glues that we could be using, but I just want to show how we could just use white glue and some simple items to get this project done.